According to PubMed, in the United States, herbal and dietary supplements now account for approximately 20% of drug-induced liver injury cases. This is a significant rise from the 7% that was documented in 2004 and 2005 to this 20%. So we will be diving into this and so much more in today's episode. First, for the fourth time, I think, recording four. Thank you, Riverside. Trash. Shout out to Joelle. Need to give her props in public. Absolute incredible credit for being ready and able and willing to hop in a car through the blizzard of the century to deliver our baby.
So
yes, the blizzard that is no longer happening.
Yeah, luckily we were supposed to get 30 inches. Now we're not getting 30 inches. I don't even think it's going to snow at all now, which is fine by me. But Joelle offered to come be my midwife if we needed to have a home birth. Because when you have 30 inches of snow, you're not driving to the hospital. The ambulance is not coming here. That would leave Josh to be the doctor, and I'm not sure how that would have gone.
I'm prepared for a lot of things. That is not one of them. We would be trekking through the blizzard to the hospital at all costs in the truck.
But if I was there.
Yeah, Joelle offered to come and be the doula / midwife. And honestly, I felt good about it, if I'm being honest. Like, you're probably the only person I would trust to do that, knowing that you've done it yourself and you're you know.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was funny. We were all supposed to get this crazy snowstorm, and I was literally planning, okay, what can I bring? I can bring the supplies. Brant might need to stay home from work on Wednesday or Thursday so I could drive up to Connecticut and deliver Alessandra's baby. But I was straight up ready, so ready. And for those of you that don't know, I've had one hospital birth and one home birth. And it was incredible. And in another lifetime, I would be a midwife or a doula. And I love all things labor and delivery. So when they were like, no, we're serious. We might need you to come deliver this baby. I was like, say less. Done. I'm there.
Now we can just kindly exit anytime. But we'll dive in.
You won't find many people who are willing to hop in a car, drive a few hours, risk the blizzard, and deliver a baby for you. But if we are going to circle back to today's episode, we are limited on time because this is the fourth time we've been trying to record this episode because Riverside has been horrendous. So if you've got suggestions for new recording platforms,
let us know.
For on Spotify, you can comment on Spotify. So throw them our way. Anyway, circling back, this surge in liver injuries has been deemed associated to the growing consumption of supplements. And it's in particular the ones marketed for bodybuilding and weight loss. Obviously, something like anabolic steroids is going to fall into that category, but it's really even just the over-the-counter herbal vitamins, anything you're taking orally on a daily basis seems to be a big component here. You're also going to notice it's the things you're going to see marketed in the more extreme version, rapid this, quick this, and we'll get into the reasons for that. But weight loss supplements in particular, containing green tea extract, which was pretty surprising to me because there's a lot of good things that happen with green tea extract, but we're going to dive into some additional factors like dosages as a big cause here. But we'll break down some different categories. I want to give you guys some things to look out for. Obviously not the only things, but just some of the ones that are more prevalent and more prominent in name. But the green tea extract, Garcinia cambogia, and other botanicals have been implicated in liver injuries, according to News Medical. This has a lot to do with the expansion of the supplement industry. We're talking about over 80,000 unique products worldwide. U.S. sales alone surpassing over $150 billion in 2023. So that growth, coupled with limited regulatory oversight, obviously has led to these increased cases of liver damage. Notably, a study reported a 70% increase in liver transplants due specifically to supplement-induced injury from 2010 to 2020, and that increase is in comparison to what we saw from 1994 to 2009. So obviously this is a large increase, and there are some pretty obvious things to kind of point out within that, which we'll get into specifics of outside of just the categories and outside of some specific names to look out for. We're going to be talking about things like dosages and things along the lines that you're seeing in the marketing aspect.
Yeah, I think the biggest point I want to drive home before we continue is that obviously the supplement industry had a huge boom, but it's also just become such the norm to just blindly take things because an influencer said so, or someone you follow is taking it, or, you just feel like this is the quick fix or the magic thing that you're looking for. Because it seems to give you the solution to whatever you're dealing with. And it may, but at the same time, supplements are such an individual thing that you need to make sure is lacking in what you actually need. So I just wanted to kind of remind you guys kindly out there that just because an influencer is promoting it, or just because you see an ad for something that sounds like it's a great idea and it sounds natural and safe, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to help you. And in a lot of cases, it might even hurt things. We've talked about this, I think, on a couple other podcasts too. And Joelle, you can share your thoughts, but I just wanted to drive that point home because it's almost become this like, just, I'm going to go buy this $20 supplement and start taking it and not really do my due diligence or get blood work or whatever the case may be first.
Yeah, there's still a lot of responsibility that needs to lie on the consumer as well. Alessandra and I, we both work with, supplement companies and electrolyte companies because those are things that we ourselves use, love, need, desire, etc. But just because we post them doesn't necessarily mean that you need it. Just like if I post a pair of leggings, it doesn't mean you necessarily need them. Obviously, there's no health implications of buying a pair of leggings, but I think people sometimes feel like whoever they're following, or even if they're in the health and fitness space, that we automatically have some authority, right? And that can sometimes translate to people blindly trusting that they need something that's being posted about. And in one of our previous recordings of this, I just kind of gave a brief example of when I was missing my periods and trying to get my menstrual cycles back and be able to get pregnant and whatnot. There was a very, very popular, quote, hormone balancing supplement around at the time that everyone was sharing and everyone was talking about. It was this magic pill for fertility and regular cycles and better PMS symptoms and fertility. And I remember looking into that supplement being like, wow, maybe this is maybe this is what I'm missing. And I know better, right? And so I started kind of diving into what the ingredients were. And there was an ingredient in there, DIM, which helps to lower estrogen. Well, for me, I had post-menopausal levels of estrogen as a 25-year-old. I had super, super low estrogen. So for me to take a supplement that would lower my estrogen would do more harm than good. So it's just kind of a vague example of, hey, just because other people are talking about it and just because other people benefit from it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best fit for you.
1,000%. And that's, it's tough in the social media age where we're drawn to these videos and we're drawn to what they're saying. I have that and I must be able to take this and it's going to help with all my problems. So just little things to be aware of. And if you aren't getting regular blood work done, it could be as simple, you're probably not going to immediately feel liver issues, but as simple for a lot of these as, do I feel better taking this? If I don't, maybe I don't need this necessarily. And we will get into diet, lifestyle toward the end of this. But to give you guys just some quick headlines to look out for, or to just pay more attention to. I don't want to say that in like a red flag aspect, but just, heighten your awareness. So weight loss and fat burning supplements, again, something like green tea extract in supremely high dosages. It is, a healthy compound, but we're talking about very high dosages with that. The Garcinia cambogia, if I'm saying that correctly, usnic acid and DMAA. Liver risks with those are acute liver failure and drug-induced hepatitis. When it comes to these herbal and quote-unquote natural remedies, something like kava, again, turmeric, which has some anti-inflammatory benefits, but we're talking about extremely high doses in those extracts. Even ashwagandha, kratom, black cohosh, and comfrey. I'm not familiar with all of these, but I'm just pulling up the highlight reel here. Again, herbal-induced liver injury, cholestasis, and liver failure. Detoxing supplements, cleansing supplements, things along those lines. You might see high-dose vitamins in those, laxatives especially, proprietary herbal blends, proprietary blends being like this mix of things where they're not completely transparent in regards to
Dosage.
what exactly dosages, what amounts, anything, extra kind of sprinkled in there. It kind of gives them this loophole to play with the marketing there. Liver risks there, overburdening the liver, hepatotoxic reactions. And then another big one, pre-workout and energy supplements. So high caffeine content, synephrine, which is bitter orange, yohimbine, I'm mastering these pronunciations today, DMAA, and other stimulants. So we're looking at liver inflammation, drug-induced liver injury, and metabolic stress with things like that.
Oh, man.
What was that, Joel?
I remember there was this was many years ago, but there was, I don't even remember which company it was. I don't remember which company it was now. I have a few ideas, but I don't want to drop the wrong name. But there was a company a while ago that they were putting like steroids, anabolic steroids in their supplements. And what? And I don't remember which products, but they got caught. Like someone lab tested them. They got caught. The CEO went to jail, and he had no shame in it at all. He was like, whatever, people are stupid if they believe that we're not going to put stuff in our supplements. Like he was like blaming the consumer. Like that's on the consumer if they fell for it. Like what an a-hole, first of all. But yeah, like that, like you hear about that, like, oh, who would really be doing that? But there were straight up companies that were putting illegal substances in their supplements. And then, people are getting results that are, not quite supplement induced, but illegal supplement induced.
Yeah, but I remember what, like circa, this was like peak, if it fits your macros era, and everyone, like a lot of the bikini models and like bodybuilding heavy influencers really were posting about the skinny teas and the fit teas, and it was like you had no idea. You didn't even know what was in these things. Like it was all blends, and people were just taking them because it was like, this will help you detox your liver and detox your body. And basically people were just like, it was like a laxative pretty much. Like it was just
shitting their brains out.
Yeah. But that's what it reminded me of.
I think that's too like why, and to just put this out there immediately, this is not an episode to like promote Legion. I'm just going to say that. But I will say, as someone who has been affiliated with Legion for years, and Alessandra, now you are too, it's so important when you are choosing supplements to take for yourself, which we both used Legion supplements before ever working with Legion. That is why it is so important to buy from a brand that you actually trust. And again, this is like not to plug Legion. We won't drop our codes. But it's part of why it's so important to not just work with, but buy from a company that you trust. And one of the reasons that I've trusted Legion is because they don't do proprietary blends. So there's like full disclosure in the dosages that they're using. Every ingredient that they use is backed by published scientific research, and they literally cite the research on each one of their supplement pages about like why they use it, what dosage they use, why they use that dosage, what the clear benefits are. And they really do use everything in clinically effective dosages. So to come back to what Josh said about not wanting to, more is not necessarily better, there are negative implications of taking too much of something. So knowing that they use clinically effective dosages, they also do third-party lab testing, which is something that I would recommend whether you use Legion or not. Use a supplement brand that is getting third-party lab testing done, because it means that there's nothing to hide. Like they send their supplements off to a third-party lab to get tested to prove that what they are claiming is in there and in what dosages is in there in those dosages. So
then that's so important. Like even throughout pregnancy, like I'll get people asking me, well, like how do you know what's safe to take while pregnant? Because I mean, every supplement you buy has the label, like if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, please consult with your doctor, which is more of like a legal thing, like they're covering their butt. Yeah. But at the same time, that's a great example of not every supplement company brand product is made equal. So it's not like they're either all good or all bad. It's like, it depends. And it also depends on the brand. Like if they're not third party tested, I'm not taking that while I'm pregnant, because who the heck knows what's in it. So you have to make sure that you are choosing brands and products that make sense for you, but also you're getting what you're paying for and what is on the label, because it can be pretty scary using those two examples as far as like, we just don't know sometimes. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I think some other helpful considerations for people to think about in choosing supplements too, there are some interactions that you want to be aware of. There, I mean, I can't go through an entire list of them. It would be the entire episode, but essentially there are ingredients that can interfere with one another's absorption. So I mainly reference that when it comes to like a multivitamin, for instance. You want to avoid calcium and iron together. Separately, they're great, but together, calcium can interfere with iron's absorption. And similarly, like we shouldn't supplement calcium without magnesium, as we need magnesium to absorb calcium. So I think it's easy to see like, oh, look at this multivitamin. It has, you know, all these things in these 1000% IU dosages. And that does not necessarily mean that it's a good supplement. And then one other thing I'll add to that is looking for things in their active form versus their inactive form. A lot of times supplements will use like a cheaper type of that ingredient, which is a less active form most of the time. And when you take the active form of an ingredient, you basically bypass a step that the body would need to do. And so an active form of something is much better absorbed and much better metabolized. And a lot of times companies that are trying to make a product cheap or use cheap ingredients, they'll use an inactive form. And then a lot of times you're not even absorbing whatever it is that they put in their supplement.
Is that kind of like the folic acid versus folate thing, or is that different?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like folic acid versus folate is very similar. That one's more so that people have a gene that prevents them from being able to metabolize it. Another example would be B6 can be taken as, I think it's pyridoxine, which is an inactive form. Or if you saw on the label B6 as pyridoxine 5-phosphate, that's an active form. And so you want to look for active forms of an ingredient.
So all that said, what does it mean for us? Like, should we stop taking supplements? And I don't think it's necessarily that we have to go to that extreme, but it really should be limited to a specific focus, and not taking everything under the sun is really something to think about. And I'm probably guilty of this as well. I think I take 20 pills in the morning. And granted, one of the like pluses on that is I actually have gotten blood work done, and I do have specific supplements I'm taking from the guidance of a practitioner to do specific things, which is another big point, or actually my next point, using a professional to come up with a specific protocol. Whether it's, you know, someone like a health coach who's just giving you the basics that have been highly studied and the correct dosages, or actually getting blood work done with a medical professional. Hey, we're deficient in these areas, or we're seeing this, and these things have been shown to help with that. They're giving you the top brands that they work with. They're giving you the correct dosages that are going to be helpful without going above and beyond that and causing actual harm. Now, to give you guys some general advice, again, everything as far as guidance, we're going to be specific to health and fitness, essentially. Basically, we have our top 5 that have been deemed fairly safe, minimal risks, highly studied. And number 1 on the list, you've heard a lot about it recently, especially. It's making its way back into the viral trends here. But creatine monohydrate, main strengths being increasing muscle strength and power, improving muscle recovery and endurance. It is shown to support brain health, cognitive function. I know you guys just brought up some interesting studies, I believe, in regards to postnatal specifically. Helps with hydration, cellular energy, potential risks, and they're not horrendous by any means, but mild water retention, which is not fat gain, digestive discomfort, especially if you're already sensitive with your GI. And unless you have pre-existing kidney disease, it's generally deemed safe in regards to kidney concerns. So if you're healthy, everything looks normal, you don't have to worry about it having an impact on your kidneys. If you have pre-existing kidney disease, you may want to stay away from this one, just in regards to interestingly,
Yeah, I think a lot of, interestingly, it as more people are taking it, I think we still see a lot of women especially fear creatine, like within our Facebook group and just in my DMs. Like it's just a common concern still. But I am glad it is becoming more mainstream, I believe. But there was an interesting study that came about. It was done in 2021, so fairly recent, and it focused on creatine supplementation and women's health, and it gave just some really interesting insight as far as, like, obviously the things we know that it helps with is just, you know, improving or increasing your muscle mass, improving your power while exercising. But women especially, it found that women exhibit 70 to 80% lower creatine stores compared to men, which I thought was interesting, but also makes sense. And across the menstrual cycle, the changes that occur due to your hormones can affect creatine metabolism. But the one that really stuck out to me, obviously being pregnant right now, women are twice as likely to experience depression as men. I think, again, this is something we know, but particularly during puberty, postpartum, and menopause, all of those times when creatine metabolism is disrupted. So just another interesting tidbit. And I know there was also research done on like creatine and the cognitive side of the benefits there, supplementing it that in sleep deprived individuals, I believe. So in my opinion, like, again, postpartum, like we think about a postpartum mom, sleep deprived, stressed, a lot of them experience depression. It could be something that may benefit you, along with all of the other benefits of just helping you to retain any muscle mass that you have or help build it as you get back to the gym too. So I just wanted to throw that out there as just some recent fun facts that you may not be aware of.
Next one on the list is protein. So general benefits, it's a convenient way to increase protein intake, obviously, and it can also be cheaper. Supports muscle growth, recovery, fat loss, high in essential amino acids. And the biggest risk is, or a couple, but potential lactose intolerance can cause bloating. And then the low quality brands. So again, if we're not focused on third-party testing, if we're not focused on utilizing brands that really focus on the highest quality ingredients, you may have additional additives, heavy metals, artificial sweeteners. You'll see things like lead, arsenic, cadmium. Those are I think the big three of the heavy metals that you typically see in a protein powder. So a couple things to look out for there. Number 3 is magnesium, and we're talking specifically about glycinate and citrate. The benefits improve muscle relaxation and recovery. They help with sleep, stress, nervous system health, support healthy heart function and electrolyte balance. The potential risk specific to citrate would be a laxative effect. And then magnesium oxide, which is a cheaper form, is poorly absorbed by the body.
Yeah, I'm a big magnesium fan.
Same. It's probably one of the supplements I've taken the longest. Like I think I've taken that for probably a good portion of the last decade, and I kind of cycle back and forth between those two types depending on needs. But it's just one of those things that I have at night before bed, and it definitely I notice a difference for sure.
Big drawback there though is if someone's mixing that with a cup of water, like you're probably waking up to pee. So like if you can handle a sour shot, like put a little bit in there, mix it up, and then throw it down real quick. Yeah.
But it's also, we have the powder. You can also take it in pill form too. So
but if you're
I
chugging
use
a glass of water too.
Use a capsule.
Yeah.
I take all my supplements before bed. Always.
There you go.
Just peeing all night.
There you go.
Most nights I don't wake up to pee. In case you all wanted to know that.
You just force yourself back to sleep.
Alessandra, who's on her like 7th pee of the night.
It's like every hour with this child on my bladder. But usually I do not.
Yeah.
Next up, we have vitamin D3, but there are a couple different things we recommend with that. So at the minimum, a vitamin D3 with a K2, and that's going to be in regards to calcium absorption, which we'll talk about on the risks. I actually take an ADK, which is optimal for absorbing things, and I believe the K is in a MK7 form. So benefits: boosting immune function, supporting bone health, calcium absorption, may enhance hormone function, including testosterone, and K2 does prevent that calcium buildup in the arteries. So when we go into the risks with that, D3 without K2 can lead to calcium deposits in those arteries instead of bones. So the K2 is helping make sure that goes into the right place. And very high dosages can cause toxicity over time, so stick to the recommended levels. That said, if you are working with a medical professional, they may ask you to take a higher dose for a certain period until you get to a specific level. People in the United States in particular, were chronically deficient in D3. And if you get your levels checked, this is one where we really talk about normal not being optimal. We come in really, really low. So D3 can be a very powerful supplement to take if you're taking it from the right source and in the right amounts. So a couple things to hit on there. And I know we have a couple minutes left. And this last one is actually beginning to shift. And I'm going to let Joelle take over after we read through the benefits real quick. But there's been some shift. It's probably specific to the demographic taking it and in regards to how much you're taking. Fish oil previously has been one of those things where they say, get as much as you can. It's great for your heart health.
It's
Basically
anti-inflammatory.
be swimming in the fish oil. So the benefits are that it does reduce inflammation and it can be great for joint health and heart health, supports brain function, mood, cognition, helps maintain healthy triglyceride levels to the point where they've actually tried to get patents for, I forget the name of the company. They haven't been able to get it, but a medical grade, pharmaceutical grade fish oil, like for improving triglyceride levels. I don't know why I'm struggling with that. Potential risks is the poor quality fish oil can be oxidized and rancid. And high doses may slightly thin the blood. On top of, Joelle.
Yeah, honestly, just last week I saw a post about this from a cardiologist, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to look into that because I have someone that has used fish oil on and off, over the last probably 15 years. So essentially what this cardiologist was talking about was fish oil potentially increasing the risk of AFib or atrial fibrillation, just irregular heartbeat. And so when I had looked into some of the research that has been on this, it's really in the last 3-4 years. Most of these studies are 2021, 2020. Okay, it's the last 5 years. And it seems like there's sort of some mixed reviews on whether or not fish oil can cause an abnormal heart rhythm or not. And it seems like what I could gather, there was a meta-analysis of 30 randomized studies, and it was almost like 80,000 different patients, showing that in a healthy individual, most people probably do not need to worry about the atrial fibrillation risk. But caveat, in people who have or are at risk for heart disease, there's a possibility that fish oil can increase the risk of new onset AFib. So I would say there's probably more research that needs to be done on this. It seems kind of mixed right now. And the increase in risk that they did see, it was statistically significant, but very, very small risk still in absolute terms. So I think part of the risk is a lot of people don't know they have an underlying heart condition, and then they are, again, blindly taking supplements. So when it comes to fish oil, I would say ask your cardiologist if you have one. And if you knowingly have, great heart health, then maybe it is something that could benefit you. But if previously it used to be like, oh, this can help prevent your risk of cardiovascular disease. And now I'm seeing a lot of cardiologists coming out saying, don't take fish oil. So I would say it's one of those, talk to your doctor ones instead of just, throw it down the hatch like a protein kind of supplement.
So if you do continue to take it, don't be fearful of it if you don't have a reason to be, but just don't superdose it, no mega doses, and make sure you are getting it from a highly, validated, third-party tested source. Maybe don't run to Walmart and grab the cheapest brand out there because, again, they can have some potential negative effects in that regard. But the main takeaway, guys, is that we need to remember that supplements are there to fill the gaps. It's not like I'm going to live off supplements and do everything else lifestyle-wise, nutrition-wise, however I please. We should be getting the majority of our nutrients from our diet, not counting the supplements, but what we're actually consuming. So focus on whole food, nutrient-dense options over those highly processed options, and lots of diversity. Don't get stuck in the same cycle. That can make it easy, especially with meal prep, but focus on kind of mixing it up either throughout the week or on a weekly basis. Easy way to do it, mix up the colors, And every different source of food that you're consuming, the whole foods, hopefully, you're getting different sources of nutrients, different sources of fiber. So you're getting different superpowers that those things all provide. So we hope you guys found this helpful. I apologize if it was a little choppy. Tons of technical difficulties today, unfortunately. Where can they find you?
I'm Alice. I'm just getting it.
At Joelle Samantha.
At
And
Josh Skutnik.
Oh, sorry. And everything else you need is linked in the show notes. What the heck?